What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Sorry it's been so long, but let's just get straight into it. So what we're going to be going over today is how is Reddit going to be comparing to the ad giants, as I like to call them, companies like Meta and Google and many other companies in that level. But Reddit, somewhat recently IPO'd, and it's a very well-known company, and it's starting to gain a lot more traction in recent years. So let's just take a look at some of the numbers, the valuation, the charts, everything. Let's go. All right, so if we look at the chart of Reddit, as you could see, right when it IPO'd, it started getting a lot of increase in the share price, but then it did drop significantly. Honestly, as you can see in 2025, but that's pretty much when all the stocks were dropping, if you ask me. But a few great earnings quarters, and it's looking like it's back on its merry way. And as you can see, if you're trying to buy in now, you're definitely not buying at way too overvalued or undervalued. It's still above IPO price, and it's trading, fairly in the middle of where it used to be. So you're not buying at the top. So the next thing I want to look at is, who is the CEO? What is their kind of board of directors, other higher up people? And, you should get to know them if you're researching a company. So first of all, this is the CEO of Reddit. His name is, what was it? Steve Huffman. Steve Huffman, the CEO of Reddit. And this is the CEO of Google and Meta. As you can see, you're definitely familiar with this one at least. Maybe not, the CEO of Google, but this is CEO of Reddit, Steve Huffman, co-founder. And yeah, so let's just learn a little bit more about him. But first of all, I just wanted to save some notes that I learned is that he is not as ambitious of a CEO as maybe a Mark Zuckerberg or even, my favorite CEO, which is Alex Karp. Sorry. And I would say he's somewhat active in the media. There are some YouTube videos that I've seen with him in it. Nothing too much, but he does have like an investor letter every quarter. But yeah, their investor relations, it's the last time they posted around May. Reddit announced his first quarter, probably the next time they're going to be posting is around August. So they're not super duper active, but there is a shareholder letter, thankfully, from the CEO himself, Mr. Huffman. And then I said he's also very young, right? He's very young. He's only 41 compared to Mark Zuckerberg, pretty similar. I don't know as much as the CEO of Google, but, it just shows that, he's not leaving the company anytime soon. He's not just going to, give this role off to some other guy. And he doesn't really have too much serious past experience. I checked, I could only find him on LinkedIn, but he didn't run like any other major company, which is not a bad thing, but other people like the CEO of Nike who have run other companies, or I think it was the CEO of Chipotle who just switched over from running Starbucks, or maybe it was the other way around, but you get the point. He's mainly, his biggest project is Reddit. So compared to Meta and Google, I'm going to show you guys the revenue and the trailing 12-month, their revenue. So as you can see, they're still they're in the billions, 1.4 billion. So they're not making too much compared to obviously the giants, which are in the hundreds of billions. But that's not too much of a surprise. But one thing to notice is that they're all growing, and they all make revenue. They all make their profits from ads. So that's one thing you really have to know about all three of them. And one thing I did notice about Reddit is that it does have the highest growth margin, right? Highest growth margin, basically meaning that they keep the most at the end of the day. From their operations, they keep the most, and they are one of the highest stocks, and they're at 90% growth margin, which is, similar. It's pretty similar to Meta and Google. Because think about all of these they're all software, they're all online platforms, so they're not really using too much material. But for a company that's new, just IPO'd, 90% margin is really great. I showed you right here. compared to, Google and Meta. Seriously, they're beating both of them by a lot. Also, the PE ratios just updated. Reddit PE ratio, it used to be really high, but now it's only 27. So the valuation is not too insane compared to Meta and Google. Reddit has a low enough PE to be comparing to some of the Mag 7. So it's just more of the story. It's not super overvalued right now. And here's a video that I just wanted to show the end part where, right now we're talking about how is he going to compare to the giants in the space. So he's going to, the CEO, Steve Huffman, he's going to talk about how are they going to compete with, Meta and Google.
Of building the company, your business is currently 95% advertising revenue, and with for those ad dollars, you're competing against the giants. We're talking about Meta, we're talking about Google. It's an incredibly competitive space, and you're very small compared to these other players in terms of the number of daily active users you have. What is your strategy to be able to grow market share in such a tight environment?
Sure. So I have two answers to that. First is the digital ads market is so huge. It grows by 5 to 10 Reddits per year on its own. And then what's special about Reddit is whatever you're into, whatever you're going through, whether you're getting into college, getting your first job, relationships, ups and downs, whatever health malady you have, and everybody's got one, it's all on Reddit. And so
yeah, so here he's kind of just explaining how the business model works. If you're not familiar with Reddit, it's like you post things and then there's like little groups you could join. It's pretty unique compared to other social media platforms. But what I think is really great about it is that compared to, like, for example, like Snapchat or Instagram, people are on Reddit for much longer periods of time. So that's why, like, people who run ads on the platform, it drives them much more, value from using Reddit compared to like a Snapchat where you're only on it for like a couple minutes per time.
Reddit is all about context and interests. And so literally every brand's customers are on Reddit somewhere. And so I think it's actually a very good fit. And for us, I think there's really no constraint on how big the ads business can be because of that breadth.
But you haven't been able to monetize them that effectively yet. I mean, I'm looking at a Bernstein piece, monetization well behind peers, despite starting to sell ads in 2006. You had $804 million in revenues in 2023. That's not exactly a huge number.
Well, look, we had $12 million in revenue in 2015. So,
yeah, I don't know why he's saying it's not such a big number, 800 million. Now they're at like 1.5 billion in revenue, but this guy is comparing a company that just IPO'd like a year ago to like Meta, so you can't really compare that. But also he just said like they were only doing $12 million of revenue in 2015, so that much of a growth, it's insane.
We're getting there, and I like the way our business is scaling. I think our advertisers are rooting for us because Reddit it's not about personal and private information. It's about connecting with your customers around shared interests. And so we're seeing, I think, a lot of...
Yeah, and that's also, like, in general, ads, like people who run ads for their company, they're going to be more driven towards Reddit. Because, for example, other competing apps like a Snapchat or Instagram, they can look at what you're looking at and see, I guess, what are you interested in? But at the same time, you only use Reddit to look at things that you're interested. Like, you only join the communities that you're a part of, like a gaming community or a college community or learning something. You know what I mean? So that's why it's much better for companies because they can literally tailor their ads for each community. And, also in the stock market, you just have to know that it's not always about, are you putting up higher numbers than other people, in regards to like a revenue. It's about how fast are you growing. And the rate that Reddit's growing is pretty amazing compared to many other companies. So I don't think that, you should look at 800 million in revenue and say, oh, that's low compared to other people. But, think about like AMD. Like, I know a really big investor in AMD. His name is Jeremy. And he says, they don't have to, even though Nvidia is, doing much more in revenue, doesn't mean that it's not worth it to invest in AMD. So if you think, you got to think about it like that. Also, they're held 80% by institutions, so this also can provide like investors with some stability when investing in Reddit. This is very similar percentage as Meta and Google. Also, as you can see, it's pretty well regarded by analysts. So like compared to like a Google, I've compared them here. They're held at like a hold by CFRA, like 3 stars by Morningstar, buy, and these might look like just like mediocre, but trust me, for a really small company like Reddit, these are pretty great, analyst ratings. And even, look at Meta, like it's honestly, compared to Meta and Google, it's really competing there. It's really close. Also, if you look at Yahoo Finance, just the strong buys and buy ratings have been growing. It's not like there's not really too many sells or underperforms. I don't think there's any sells. And the price target is still above the current price. Like, you don't see that in most stocks if you check Yahoo Finance. So in general, I definitely could see Reddit becoming one of my, stocks I'm thinking about buying. In the ad space, it's definitely looking like it's going to be a great buy. Another contender that I could put here would be even Roblox, right? Which is actually one of the stocks that I've just been buying. Because Roblox is also a smaller company on the stock market, but it hosts many ads. So honestly, compared to other stocks that, create products or cars or other things, like companies that run a software with high gross margin and that run these ads and make most of their revenue from ads, it might become the play. Because think about it, these people, no matter if there's inflation or we're in a recession or whatever, they're still going to drive users. People are still going to be using their platform. So honestly, I would recommend looking into Reddit if you're looking to invest in, a company that runs many ads and makes their revenue from ads. And yeah, so thank you for watching this short video, and I'll see you.